a 2024 presidential bid after teasing a major announcement. At an event in Charleston on Sunday, he said on May 22nd, it's time to make the final step. This comes after Scott, the only black Republican in the Senate, recently launched a presidential exploratory committee. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
In Sherman Oaks, a wreck working on the 101 southbound at the 405 in the number 2 lane from the left. Traffic is slow from White Oak Avenue, and the 405 south is jammed from Victory Boulevard down to Getty Center. On the 405 northbound at Victory, watch out for a large plastic tub in lanes. And in Hollywood, 101 south at Vermont Avenue, a stalled vehicle in the left lane.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's the Lakers and Golden State in the Western Conference semifinals. The fifth time LeBron and Steph Curry will face each other in the NBA playoffs. The first time before the finals. Curry dropped 50 on Sacramento to spark Golden State to a 20-point win. The 50 is an NBA record for most points in a Game 7. In case you forgot, Curry is 35 years old and putting in work like that. A message for Anthony Davis. Be ready to get dirty under the basket. Golden State center Kevon Looney had 21 rebounds Sunday, 10 on the offensive boards. Game 1 is Tuesday night. The Miami Heat went into New York Sunday for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals and won by 7, 25 for Jimmy Butler. Doubleheader action tonight. Game 1 for Philadelphia and Boston, Phoenix at Denver, and Game 2 both on TNT. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, yo, don't let nobody else up in this booth.
Excuse me. Now that I have your attention, may I ask you this question? What image comes to mind when you hear the word homeless? Do you believe it to be solely a big city urban problem? A problem that only affects cities like Los Angeles and New York that have been inundated with panhandlers and tent encampments? What causes one to become houseless? And what strategies should be implemented to assist in helping people achieve and maintain housing stability? And do you believe having access to affordable housing should be a right in this country? Well, you've come to the right place. You're listening to LA's all-new progressive talk radio station, of the people, by the people, for the people. It's KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got you covered around the clock. Racism?
We don't hate white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow.
We got you. Miseducation? We got you. Gun violence? We have you covered.
If you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself.
A black-owned and operated, evidence-based alternative radio station for progressive, open-minded people like you and me. Welcome home, LA. We're all in this together. It's KBLA Talk 1580, broadcasting from the heart of LA's Leimert Park. We've got a lot to talk about.
You can't do it unless you believe that you can do it.
Hush not, child, and don't cry. Your folks might understand you by and by. Just move on up toward your destination.
I'm Tavis Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, unapologetically progressive talk radio for your ears, smart radio for smart people, and I'm glad to have you on. Tuned in, I should say, in this hour. Our guest in this hour is Greg Harden. Have you ever wondered what separates the world's greatest athletes and most successful executives from all the rest of us? Greg Harden has spent decades working with some of the most accomplished individuals in various fields of human endeavor, including 7-time Super Bowl champion quarterback Tom Brady, Heisman Trophy winner and Super Bowl MVP Desmond Howard, and 23-time Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps, to name a few. His forthcoming book, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Uncontrollables and Thrive, includes a foreword from his mentee, Tom Brady, and the text will allow readers to learn how to tackle mental blocks in high-pressure arenas of life, and we could all use some advice in that regard. Greg Harden joins us right now, and I'm pleased to have him on this program. Greg, how are you today, sir?
It is a great day to be alive, young man. How are you?
If I complained I'd be an ingrate, it is a great day to be alive, and I'm delighted to be alive and in conversation with you. Thank you for the book, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about it before it even comes out. I am always honored when people think enough of our program to give us a preview, as it were, of books that are about to drop before they even come out. You can hear them first on KBLA Talk 1580 on this program. So thank you for that, number one. Number two, tell me how. I'm always fascinated about the backstory of people who do a particular thing. And we'll get into the text in just a second here. But give me the backstory for how you got in this particular lane.
Wow, that's a great question because I don't even believe it happened. I started off as a little nitwit who was trying to run track and play football at Michigan and got kicked out, sent home, went back to Detroit, and found out that you can never go home again. You don't know what that means until it happens. So once I got back, because remember, I hated the school. I hated all these situations they put me in. I didn't like them. They didn't like me. And I went back to Detroit and found out, working in a steel mill and working underneath a furnace in 105 degrees in a rubber suit was not a good plan. I also discovered that getting a PhD in streetology definitely was not going to set me up for the success I really craved and dreamed of. So it started off a little rough, and after 5 years of being out of school, I realized I hadn't flunked out and decided I'd go back to school and pay my way. So I paid for my own education, went back to school, finished my undergrad, and then in the middle of that, met a mentor named Howard Vernon Brapson. Dr. Brapson would always grab anybody that he thought had some sense and might have a chance, and he recruited me to become a part of the school's social work. Well, of course, I didn't want to be a bloody social worker because my description of a social worker was a social service worker and the state worker. But he told me I didn't know what social work was, and he schooled me, educated me, and set me up to be somebody that could be a change agent, someone who could help people change their lives and see their lives differently. I started off in community organizing and group theory and process, and was obsessed with groups and organizations, which transferred into teams. And that's how it all started.
That's a lot, brother. Let me interrogate a few things before we move forward. Let me start with this, Greg Harden. For those who, even in this moment, don't really understand, appreciate, or embrace the value of social work and social workers, and they're like you were back in the day, kind of just not really tapping into what it's all about. What would you say to those persons listening right now who don't appreciate social work and what social workers do?
Well, what I really want to share with people is that when people say, you're going into social work, and everyone says, why would you do that?
Exactly.
That's because they're thinking that they don't understand. It's not the title. It's not the degree. It's who has it and what they do with it. And social work is a vehicle that you can use to make an impact, to absolutely go into a community, go into a household, go into an individual's life and say, what do you want? Who's surrounding you? Who's in your life? The difference between psychology and social work is I'm going to look at everyone and everything around you, not just from the neck up. I've got to see who influences you, who trained you, who socialized you, programmed you, brainwashed you. I want to know everything. I want to know the healthy people in your life and the unhealthy people in your life. And that's what we do differently than some other forms of therapy.
I heard that distinction you made earlier, Greg Harden, the distinction between getting kicked out of Michigan versus flunking out of Michigan, and you made the point that you did not flunk out. Took you a few years to figure it out, but as the Bible says about the prodigal son, you eventually came to yourself. You came to yourself like the prodigal son and realized you could go back. To your point, you can't go back home, but you could go back to Michigan. You came to yourself and you decided to go back to Michigan. But since I invoked this notion of the prodigal son, we know, for those who recall the story, the biblical story of what happened to him, that caused him to come to himself. What specifically happened to you? Was there something that allowed you to come to yourself and realize you could go back because you hadn't flunked out?
Well, see, I'm going to tell you, not try to sell you. I know that you are a spiritual man. And so when we talk about this, understand at around age 22, 23, I'm living in the fast lane. I'm doing all the things that maybe you shouldn't do. It dawned on me that, it had to be something better. And I made a promise. I said, if I live to see 25, there must be some purpose for my life. And at 25, I had already made a promise to God. So 25 hit, and I said, oh, my God, I guess I better find an alternative route. And so the only thing I could do was finish what I had started.
Yeah. What was it like going back to school at 25?
Ooh, I like you, man. Think about it. I'm a grown man sitting around with 18, 19-year-old snot noses from all over the world, and some of them richer than sin, and listening to their arrogance, their ignorance, and beginning to understand that I had to look past their arrogance and their ignorance and listen to what they were saying. To listen and realize that you're not just learning from your professor, you're learning from everybody in that sphere, everyone in that environment. You can learn something just listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was different.
No, that's the key, man. I say all the time around here. The audience, I think, knows this. Certainly all of my colleagues at the station who I work with know this. The key, I think, to being successful in this business of talk radio or any other is what I call generous listening, charitable listening. The more charitably you listen, the better talk show host you are, and the better a leader you are, whatever field of human endeavor you have chosen. Listening is an invaluable quality, and not enough of us do it well. I say all the time that what's wrong with our society is there's too much monologue and not enough dialogue. Everybody wants to talk. Nobody wants to listen. Too much monologue, not enough dialogue. So in that regard, Greg Harden and I are simpatico. We agree on that. Just getting started in this hour with Greg Harden, author of the forthcoming book, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. The book ain't even out yet, and the joy, the sublime joy of getting a chance to talk to these folk who honor me before the books even come out is that you get a chance to pre-order it. You can make sure you get your copy before it sells out. You can pre-order it right now before it even drops. The book is called Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. And I am more fascinated than I was even 20 minutes ago to get into a conversation with a guy who has worked with Tom Brady and Desmond Howard and Michael Phelps and many others, and who's learned the lessons, helped them learn the lessons of how to tackle mental blocks in high-pressure arenas of life. If they can do it, so can you. We'll talk more about it when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. Today I spoke with Tatiana, a community manager for JP Morgan Chase.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Tatiana Roberts. I am a community manager for JP Morgan Chase. I have to honestly say that this has been the most fulfilling position that I've ever had, where I get to give back to the community because I saw my mom's struggles. That's really what fuels what I do to make sure that that the community has all the access to the resources that my mother didn't have.
So for the mother who's in business, what are 3 quick tips you can give to ensure that they're on the right path to accessing financial support from a bank like Chase?
Say number 1, just make sure that you're checking your credit on a consistent basis and taking action to either fix your credit, maintain your credit, or rebuild your credit. The second thing would be budget. I know that B word is kind of like ugly for, right? A lot of people don't like that B word, but it has to be done. We need to tell our money anywhere to go. The last thing is to build a network of supporters that are going to lift you up.
The community building here in Crenshaw is that network. So visit the Chase Community Center on Crenshaw and Vernon. Meet a banker today. Tell them about your business. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
We begin top story with late breaking news.
Is it going to succeed, yes or no?
I think it's going to succeed. It's going to succeed.
Can you believe it?
Y'all did it!
KBLA Talk 1580 is about to celebrate its second anniversary on Juneteenth, and no terrible twos around here. We couldn't be more excited about all the good news we'll be announcing soon, including the launch of some new shows to keep giving you more of what you've been looking for.
Come on!
Smart radio for smart people. Hey, it's our celebration, but you get all the gifts. We'll be giving away fresh merch, swag bags, and a chance for you to join the private invitation-only, star-studded music and dance till you drop, food and drink galore second anniversary celebration. To stay in the know about the second anniversary details, download the KBLA Talk 1580 app right now. Don't miss out on your chance to be a winner. At KBLA Talk 1580, when we come forward, we're bringing everybody with us.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Tide Power Pods have 85% more Tide.
Who needs that much more Tide?
Well, when giving your muddy dog a bath turns into you getting a mud shower, yikes, you're gonna need more Tide. When your wine tasting becomes a wine spilling, yeah, you're gonna need more Tide. Or if your favorite shirt is your kid's favorite napkin. Great, I'm gonna need more Tide. My mom gave me that shirt.
It's a mess out there. Tide Power Pods have 85% more Tide versus Tide Pods.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this?
We didn't think so.
You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580, and I'm glad to have you tuned in to Unapologetically Progressive Talk Radio, smart radio for smart people. And speaking of smart people, we've got one on in this hour. Greg Harden is our guest. He's the author of the forthcoming text, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive, the book coming out later this year. But we're pleased to have Greg on this program right about now. Before I get back to Greg in this conversation about all the folk who he has worked with and have helped them to overcome mental blocks, to deal with high-pressure situations, people like, again, Tom Brady and Michael Phelps. Speaking of great athletes, I should mention now that Ralph Harold Boston, passed away yesterday, one of the African-American greats in Olympic history. He was an American track athlete who received 3 Olympic medals and became the first person to break the 27-feet barrier in the long jump. He is an icon, and he passed away yesterday at the age of 83. And again, since we're talking about great athletes, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to send our condolences out to the family of Ralph Boston, and to just underscore the fact that another great has made his transition. But Ralph Boston was an amazing athlete and represented his people so remarkably well during Olympic competition. And just wanted to mention that he made his transition yesterday in the Atlanta area at the age of 83. Again, so condolences to the family of the Red Olympian Ralph Boston, dead at the age of 83. Now back to Greg Harden in this book, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. Again, a couple of broad questions, Greg, and I'll narrow as we move through the hour. For all that you have done and for all those persons you have worked with, which we'll unpack here a little bit later in this conversation, what got you or convinced you that now was the time to actually write a book and to lay all this out in detail for the rest of us?
Tavis Smiley, a sense of urgency to share while I can and before I can't. Some stories.
Yes, sir.
Some ideas, some strategies to help people navigate this adventure called life. And we all go through trials and tribulations as part of everyone's story. And I'm just excited to talk about what I've learned working with people from all walks of life, some people that you've heard about and some people you know nothing about, have done some amazing things. And you know, as a mentor, you've mentored many people, and people have no idea the people whose lives you've touched. But you know that mentors learn from their mentees, if they got any sense at all. I've learned so much working with some of the people that you'll talk about, and it was an opportunity to try to capture before. I'm in the fourth quarter. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm in the fourth quarter, and mortality is real. Immortality ain't.
Mm-hmm.
So since I know that, the closest thing we can get to immortality is if they say your name when you go.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I leave something that says, I was here and I had a great adventure and I had an opportunity to help some people. And if I can just leave a message, and the quest is simple. I want people to become the world's greatest expert on one subject, themselves.
Yeah.
I want to teach people to dream, believe, and become the person they can trust most with their life. It has to be you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, people talk about, what people ought to do and how to motivate people, but you have to teach people how to understand one thing. Human beings are the only creatures on earth that are capable of transforming themselves. They can decide that they're not going to be the same guy they were yesterday.
Mm.
What other creatures? A dog going to be a dog, Doc.
That's it.
A cat going to be a cat. A cow going to be a cow. A human being can decide not to be miserable, negative, and depressed tomorrow.
That's powerful.
Not to be preoccupied with nonsense tomorrow.
Mm.
To grow through it instead of just go through it. So I guess I just get excited. See, it's not about me. It's about this work and how exciting it was.
Yeah. No, I hear the excitement in your voice, and I never thought about it in that way, which is why I say all the time I leave this studio smarter every day than when I came in. I never thought about the fact that we are uniquely different amongst all of God's creations in that regard, that we can transform ourselves. Let me preface this next question with this. So the guy you're listening to right now, Greg Harden, author of this book, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. By the way, I love the title, Greg. Love the title.
Thank you, sir.
Greg's experience includes working with, get this now, here's what he's done in his career and why he can give you some good advice. He's worked with 350 NFL players, 120 Olympians. I just mentioned Ralph Boston. Who he did not work with. I just, again, wanted to underscore how important it is and what an honor it is to work with Olympians. 80 NHL players. Now, that is interesting because, these NHL players, most of these are good white folk, and I ain't mad at them. But 80 NHL players, you take my point, don't you, Greg? You take my point. I know you do.
Hey, Kate skate, don't want to skate.
There you go. Kate skate, don't want to skate. 80 NHL players, 50 NBA players, and 20 Major League Baseball players. He's worked with some of the best in all of sport. And I wanted to put that factoid out there, Greg, because I want to ask you this question now, which is, what has been for you the joy? You talked earlier about being a mentor, but learning from many of your mentees. We'll get to that. But broadly speaking, what's been the joy of being able to work one-on-one with so many professional athletes?
Well, that's a great question, and it's great because it forces me to push the agenda that I was working with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't working with professional athletes. I was working with snot-nosed 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who just wanted to be the best at what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work with 29 different teams. I mean, I'm working with, what do I know about water polo? I mean, how they get the horses in the water,
Yeah.
I'm working with folks from all walks of life who are simply trying to reach their full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did was disguise peak performance and mental health as being closely linked. So what we discovered is that we had to convince the university and to allow us to not just focus on pathology, not to just look at people who are struggling and are in trouble, but to make a doorway for individuals to talk about managing daily living problems. So if they go off to be professional athletes, that's exciting. But to get them there, I've got to see them as regular folk. I have to see Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was 18, 19-year-old struggling to make the team. Yeah, Desmond Howard was ready to get out of here when he decided to talk to me. So the opportunity to work with professional athletes, that's not the opportunity. The opportunity is to have a chance to create in the mind of a young person, they can do anything that they want. And athletics is a door. It's all it is. It's an opportunity, a stepping stone to become who you ultimately will become. If you're a pro athlete, we're excited. But even when you become a pro, you better be an amazing human being.
Yeah.
Or it'll all fall apart.
No, I hear you. I'm thinking now about the NFL draft that we all have watched over the last few days, or not all of us, but many of us have paid attention to it. And everybody wants to know who their team drafted, right? So many of us are paying attention to the NFL draft every year. And you mentioned Tom Brady. You know where I'm going here, to the story that all of us know who have followed his career. For as good as he was at Michigan, he got drafted at the bottom of the draft. I mean, it is still a remarkable story to me that this guy's the last guy taken, and he ends up winning 7 Super Bowls. What were you saying to Tom Brady when he was at Michigan that might help him navigate being taken at the bottom of the draft? And I asked that because I see all these guys sort of moping that they weren't taken in the first round or the second round. Some of them weren't taken at all. Brady's at the bottom of the heap, but he ends up becoming Tom Brady, to your point.
Tavis Smiley, you already know that here's a young man who had to be trained to believe, I don't care what anyone thinks of you. All I care about is what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady comes into my office. He's watched what Desmond Howard and I did. Desmond's got the Heisman Trophy. And so Tom Brady says, hey, I saw what you and Desmond did. Can we talk for a minute? I said, sure, come on, sit down. He says, I want to be the starting quarterback at Michigan. And I said, well, son, I can't help you with that. not in this lane, not in the role I'm playing.
Yeah.
But I can get you to the point where if no one else believes in you, you'll believe. That's what I can do for you. Mm-hmm. That's all I can do for you. I need you to get to the point where you begin, and here's the tough lesson I give anyone that'll listen. Tom Brady, you've got to decide, with or without football, your life is going to be amazing. Once you decide that your life is going to be amazing, whether this works or doesn't work, we just increase the chances that it'll work. Because you're no longer a slave to an idol god called football. You are a guy who can now say, look, I'm going to give 100% of the time at everything I do. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I'll do something else. Once you are freed from the idea that you are a football player, see, football has to become a vehicle, a tool that you use. And who you are is infinitely more than a bloody football player.
When we come forward, I want to I need to stay with this for a second. This is getting rich, and I need to stay with this for a second because I hear what Greg Harden is saying. He told Tom Brady and told Desmond Howard and told Michael Phelps and told all the other persons he's worked with in all these different fields of human endeavor. Many of them athletes, not all, but many athletes. What I'm trying to figure out is how you convince an athlete of that. All these athletes, many of them seem to care about is succeeding in their chosen field of athleticism, what they've been gifted to do. That's all they care about. So how, at the point where all they care about is trying to make it to the NFL, trying to make it to the major leagues in baseball, trying to make it on the Olympic stand, winning a gold medal, how do you convince them that that shouldn't be their primary concern? That's fascinating for me. A lot to interrogate with Greg Harden when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A U.S. Navy ship has arrived in Port Sudan to help evacuate Americans. The USNS Brunswick, a fast transport vessel, is one of 3 ships now positioned to assist U.S. citizens who want to leave the war-torn country. Staffers at the U.S. Embassy in Khartoum were evacuated by special forces last week, but thousands of other American citizens are still believed to be in the country. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott is signaling a 2024 presidential bid after teasing a major announcement. At an event in Charleston on Sunday, he said on May 22nd, it's time to make the final step. This comes after Scott, the only black Republican in the Senate, recently launched a presidential exploratory committee. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Sherman Oaks, a wreck working on the 101 southbound at the 405 in the number 2 lane from the left. Traffic is slow from White Oak Avenue, and the 405 south is jammed from Victory Boulevard down to Getty Center. On the 405 northbound at Victory, watch out for a large plastic tub in lanes. And in Hollywood, 101 south at Vermont Avenue, a stalled vehicle in the left lane.
I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. If you own a business and still haven't applied for the payroll tax refund, we want to pay a licensed tax attorney to see if you're eligible to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Go to getrefunds.com, getrefunds.com.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's the Lakers and Golden State in the Western Conference semifinals. The 5th time LeBron and Steph Curry will face each other in the NBA playoffs. The first time before the finals. Curry dropped 50 on Sacramento to spark Golden State to a 20-point win. The 50 is an NBA record for most points in a Game 7. In case you forgot, Curry is 35 years old and putting in work like that. A message for Anthony Davis. Be ready to get dirty under the basket. Golden State center Kevon Looney had 21 rebounds Sunday, 10 on the offensive boards. Game 1 is Tuesday night. The Miami Heat went into New York Sunday for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals and won by 7, 25 for Jimmy Butler. Doubleheader action tonight. Game 1 for Philadelphia and Boston, Phoenix at Denver in Game 2, both on TNT. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you between 18 and 26 years old and trying to find out how you're supposed to make all this work? If you've said, I need a job and some transportation, rent, it's so high. Food too. There's childcare and I need to go back to school. I need to transform my life. Well, help is on the way. Transform Your Life Day is coming Saturday, April 29th at San Manuel Stadium. It's a shopping mall of free community services where you can talk with programs and even enroll right on the spot. It's free help for young adults to get you started on meaningful careers, finish up your diploma or your college degree. There's help with finding housing, transportation, food, and childcare. Plus, you get a free ticket to the 66ers game, free parking along with prizes. Get there early for free food. Reserve your free space today at ccc.ca.gov. That's ccc.ca.gov. ccc.ca.gov.
The Los Angeles Urban League and Parkside Economic Development Corporation are working to close the wealth gap between black and white households. B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program's free virtual workshops will help your family acquire, gain, maintain, and pass down legacy wealth. Learn from the experts about making more with what you have, the Black History of Money, joining the Smart Investors Club, preserving your assets in tough times, crypto, cash in or cash out, the wealthy mind and body. Register for this free series that could change your financial financial future at laul.org/BWAARP. Don't miss B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program, every second and fourth Thursday in February, March, and April at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Register now at laul.org/BWAARP.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
This is, for me, a sublime joy. I mean that sincerely, sublime joy to be in dialogue with Greg Harden as we talk about his forthcoming book, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. I couldn't wait for that news, traffic, and sports break to get past so I can get to this, because I was just struck by Greg's comment about his approach before news, traffic, and sports, talking to a young Tom Brady. 17, 18 years snot nose, as he put it. I wouldn't call Tom Brady that because I can't. Greg can. and still get Tom Brady to write the foreword to the book. I ain't mad at you. But the point I want to get to is what you were teeing up earlier. So you got this kid in your office talking to you.
Yes.
All he cares about is football.
Yes.
And you're basically telling him, but football can't be the thing. How do you get him to buy that?
Tavis Smiley, your stock just keeps going up with me. I'm just saying.
I'm just trying to learn, man. I'm just trying to learn.
Bruh, you ready?
Yeah.
So I've got a kid. Let's go to another sport. Let's get radical.
Okay.
If you are a gymnast, and I ask you, well, when did you start being a gymnast? And they say what? 4, 5,
exactly.
6 years old.
Yeah.
If you're a swimmer, and I ask you, when did you start being a swimmer? You're going to say 4, 5, 6 years old. Now, if there's anybody that thinks they're a gymnast, it's a gymnast.
Mm-hmm.
That's who they think they are. They have, their whole identity is I'm a gymnast. I'm a swimmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to again, we are talking about Tom Brady and some of the superstars, but think about how hard it must be to tell a gymnast the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to decide with or without gymnastics, your life is going to be amazing. And it will increase the chances that you'll be a better gymnast. How do you sell that is your question.
That's my question. How do you sell it?
The mental game is the game. You have to convince somebody to begin to understand that everybody that's at a university was the stuff in high school. Hell, I was the man in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You were the man in high school.
Yeah.
So everybody that's here is the man, the woman, the person in high school. Now, when you go to the pros, you know everybody was the man.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between those who go to the next level and those who were kind of, sort of, should have, could have, would have been is the mental game. Mm. The mental game asks me to teach you to practice, train, and rehearse, given 100% of the time at everything you do, not at sports.
Mm.
I have to convince you that if we're talking about levels of fitness, let's talk about fitness. If I ask you about physical fitness, you could tell me exactly whether the characteristics of someone who is physically fit. You know, they have stamina, they have strength, they're flexible, their aerobic capacity is la-di-da-di. But if I ask you to talk about mental fitness, oops.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have to do is convince someone to be mentally fit. You can't just come in the office once every 3 months.
Yes.
You got to come. You got to go to therapy if you're trying to get healthy. If you're trying to get your mental health back, you have to train for it. You have to practice, train, and rehearse. You got to surrender the ego in order to go to the next level. We're talking about how do you get to the next level. We're not talking about being the best athlete, we're talking about being the best performer on the team. We're talking about being the best thinker on the team. I'm teaching engineers to go study martial arts. I'm telling athletes to go to class and try to get 100% on the exam, just to practice their mental game. Their mental game. If you can train yourself to give 100% at the stuff you don't even like, what are you going to do when you get to the stuff you love?
Man, you let me
it's
stop.
A habit.
You are killing me. You are first of all. Let me just say this. I mentioned earlier about the honor that I feel in this moment of you allowing us to talk to you about the book before the book even drops with Tom Brady's forward in the book. I'm going to be the first person to pre-order a whole bunch of these books. And I'm going to give them to everybody I work with at this radio station. And I'm going to pass. Yeah. I'm going to make sure they listen to this conversation, everybody at this radio station, because this is what I find myself saying all the time to people in my space. And let me just get personal, because I want you to, once I get personal, you can tell me, how you process all this. So I have found that when you're trying to say to people you work with what you have said to these athletes, that sometimes you get pushback, and sometimes people think you're being anal. They think you're being anal. They say that's just Tavis being anal. Let me just get personal. I literally just was talking to some people I work with the other day, reminding them, when you leave my conference room, please put the chairs back at the table the way they were when you walked in. When you walk out of my kitchen in this radio station, please close the cabinet. It was closed when you came. Can you close the cabinet that way? I mean, I'm talking about the way that when people walk in this building, we only have once to make a first impression. And when they walk in this building, before they get to sit and talk with us and experience our excellence, they have to see excellence. You think I'm being anal, but there's a reason I want that table to look right when they walk through the front door and look through that glass. If they see chairs all over the place, it makes a different kind of statement. If the artwork hanging on the wall is crooked, it makes a different kind of statement. If I'm giving them a tour around the building and you got junk all in your office, it makes a different kind of statement. And that's just appearance. Now we get to the specifics. When I work with my producers and my board ops and my engineers, and I say, no, you got to do this way. It's got to be done this way. What I'm saying to them is that if you want to be a great rapper, you got to be excellent in everything you do. If you want to be a great writer, be excellent in everything you do. I find myself preaching this all the time. You got to be good 100% at everything. If you get in the habit of doing it with everything you do, you will rise to the top. So here you come now with this book, sort of augmenting what I've been trying to say with no scientific data. It's just the way I've lived my life and the way I've come to appreciate what it means to be black and what it means to be excellence. But you got to do it in the details if you expect to do it in the big moments. And now I hear you telling me that's what you tell Brady. That's what you tell Michael Phelps. Every single thing you do, you want to get 100 on, because if you do it in everything you do, when you're on the field, in the thing you really love, you will automatically excel. Am I getting your lesson plan right, sir?
Yes, sir. But let's ground it. You ready?
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
Now, is it possible to give 100% of the time? No. But if my default mode is I'm going to try to give 100% of the time, my worst day is going to be better than the average person's best day.
That's it. That's it.
My worst day, back in the day, my worst day would be 30%, 50%. But if my worst day is 85, I believe that's like a B plus or a B. Mm-hmm. And I think that's above average. What we're fighting for is to always be above average. My worst day, I'm going to take you out.
Mm-hmm. Woo! I had a guest on.
I got a chance.
I had a guest on.
I have a chance.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you have a chance what? I got a chance what? Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
I have a chance of winning the game because I deliberately try to push myself. I'll give you an example. Desmond Howard, Heisman Trophy winner, MVP of the Super Bowl on special teams. Who gets to be MVP of a Super Bowl
on special teams?
Special teams?
Exactly.
Desmond Howard, Tavis Smiley, you're going to love this. Desmond Howard studied me for a year and a half before he would even talk to me. That's how bright he was. He studied me, analyzed me, and then cut into me and says, when you seem to have a multiple personality.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you sound like Richard Pryor, then you sound like a scholarly professor, and then you sound like a passionate pastor. He said, is that on purpose?
Mm.
I said, whoa, who are you, kid?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I've been watching you, and when you talk to us in so many different ways. Is that on purpose? I said, yes, sir, it is on purpose, as a matter of fact, because there's so many listening styles and learning styles in the room. I have to find a way. For some guy, I got to make him laugh before I tell him the truth. Mm-hmm. For some guy, I gotta have passion and fire in my bones when I talk. And then for another guy, I better know the data and what the research would suggest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Desmond Howard walks into my office and says, he's not in trouble. He's not in despair. He is hungry and humble enough. What are the key differences between the people we're talking about and everyone else? Hungry and humble. That combination can always win. Mm. Desmond Howard, I convinced Desmond, look, you hate to run? What you gonna do? Mm-hmm. Desmond Howard, in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the night, would run. Every week he'd run an additional 10 miles on his own by himself while everyone else was partying. Mm. Because he was deliberate and intentional about becoming the best possible human being he could become. He hated running. But I told him if he wanted to be the best, instead of being the best receiver, be the best athlete on the team.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it, being deliberate. I love it. Those are some words that'll work for you. Deliberate and intentional about what you do. Hungry and humble. That will work. But I hear the message that Greg is delivering right now, that if you are intending on being successful, you will only get there if you find a way to excel in the things that you don't like doing. We know you're going to succeed in the things you love doing, but you got to excel at the things that you don't like doing. That is what determines your success. I'm thinking now of Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington, both friends of mine, Mr. Poitier now gone, have said to me repeatedly, Tavis, my career is not defined by the roles that I took, but by the roles I turned down. They knew that they had to be deliberate and intentional about the roles they were taking and the ones they refused to take in the building of a career that made Sidney Poitier the greatest actor of his generation and Denzel the greatest actor of his generation. I digress. More with Greg Harden when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Come join us for a celebration of community, culture, and healing at the I Love Myself Festival, Sunday, May 21st from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Outdoor Pavilion of the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. Yoga, meditation, food, vendors, a kids zone, and a special panelist segment featuring Samantha Smith, D Smoke, and Ebony Davis. Performances by Wilson, Skylar Ray, Divas of Compton, Iman Europe, Kalan For Real, and Eric Bellinger. It's all going down Sunday, May 21st at the Outdoor Pavilion of the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Let's come together for a day of fun, celebration, and healing. For more details, contact Project Pit on social media or text 323-448-5770. The I Love Myself Festival in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month is a free event for community healing and culture. May 21st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall.
Attention LA seniors and persons with disabilities. Did you know you may qualify for generous discounts on your LA DWP bill through the Lifeline program? That's right. With Lifeline, you can save money on your bill. It's easy to join, and the Lifeline program also is the gateway for other benefits, such as qualifying for our refrigerator exchange program. So if you are a senior or have a disability, learn more at ladwp.com/lifeline. That's ladwp/lifeline.
Have you faced discrimination in Los Angeles? The City of LA Civil Rights Department can help. They investigate private sector discrimination in LA City in commerce, education, employment, and housing. If you're facing discrimination, submit a complaint online for free at laisforeveryone.com. That's laisforeveryone.com or call 213-978-1845.
If car designers can make cars look like anything, why are there so many boring cars? Why not a car that looks like an ancient sword? Or the future? The sky isn't even the limit at Nissan. Why be boring when you can make a katana blade slice through traffic? That's the Nissan Z. Or something from the future whizzing by. And that's the Aria. Nissan. We design for thrill. 2023 Aria has limited availability. See dealer for financing details.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
Greg Harden, I'm watching my time, man. I could do this for hours, and unfortunately, we ain't got but one, and I ain't got but some minutes left in this hour. Let me hasten to ask a few things I want to get your take on as well. This is just a rich dialogue, and I'm so grateful to you for allowing us to talk about your book, Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. Doesn't come out till later this summer. You can pre-order it right now. You can see why I'm so excited about getting this thing to read it cover to cover when it drops, just on this tease, if you will, this precursor, if you will, of a conversation with Greg Harden. What have you learned in short that you can share with the audience right now about peak performance? And that's for all of us. Most of us will never be professional athletes, but in the lives that we live and the legacies that we are leaving, talk to us about how to manage, how to handle peak performance.
Well, it's important that we normalize the concept of fear. Mm-hmm. Fear and self-doubt is the greatest enemy you will ever face on this planet. You've had enemies, you've had all kinds of things coming at you and coming at you wrong, but fear and self-doubt is the greatest enemy you will ever face. And so what we do is we begin to teach anyone that will listen. When someone says, it's nothing to be afraid of, don't be afraid, stop being afraid, they don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. What I teach anyone that will listen is to stop being afraid of being afraid. Some of the greatest moments of your life, Tavis Smiley, my life, and anyone in that office that you're working with, some of the greatest moments of your life, you were about to crap your pants before it happened.
Amen.
So fear is part of life. And courage is not the absence of fear, it's facing fear. Some of the great, I was so excited about having a chance to chat with you. I was anxious, I was nervous, and I embraced it, and I turned the anxiety into excitement. I turned the fear into passion. That's what we teach. That's what I'm trying to teach anyone that will listen, that fear is a part of being human. Embrace it. Stop being intimidated by it. It's predictable, therefore manageable.
Stop being afraid of being afraid. So many jewels he's dropping in this hour. Bars being dropped everywhere. Stop being afraid of being afraid. In our final moments with Greg Harden, I want to ask him the question he tempted me to ask some moments ago, and I'll get to it before we wrap. And that is what he, as mentor, has learned from so many of these mentees. You're listening to Greg Harden on KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down.
The Los Angeles Urban League and Parkside Economic Development Corporation are working to close the wealth gap between black and white households. B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program's free virtual workshops will help your family acquire, gain, maintain, and pass down legacy wealth. Learn from the experts about making more with what you have, the Black history of money, joining the Smart Investors Club, preserving your assets in tough times, crypto, cash in or cash out, the wealthy mind and body. Register for this free series that could change your financial future at laul.org/BWAARP. Don't miss B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program, every second and fourth Thursday in February, March, and April at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Register now at laul.org/BWAARP.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Conversations that matter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
With a forward by Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champion quarterback, as you well know. The book is called Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. Greg Harden, as mentor, what have you learned over the years from your mentees?
There's a young man named Ward Manuel, the athletic director, Desmond Howard, Demetrius Caleb, Charles Woodson. They taught me something very simple. I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter how smart you are or what you can help somebody with. If they don't think you care about them, if you don't lead with care, compassion, and concern, you can't talk to me. You can't talk to people unless you have the capacity to have empathy, to be transparent. I walked into the role that I had at Michigan, and I was a clinical therapist. And Ward Manuel explained to me, I don't need a clinical therapist. I need an advocate and an ally. I need someone I can talk to about who I am and about my life. But if I don't know you, I'm not going to talk to you. I'll come here because I have to come because the coach told me to come. But until you let me see you as a person, I have no interest in talking to you. So I had to show that I had a heart, that I had pain and suffering, that I had been through it just like they had been through it. So you've got to be able to help people by giving them a clue that you see them as real people.
I say all the time that folk would rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. They'd rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. So I take your point loud and clear. Here's my exit question with the 90 seconds I have left. What have you learned over these many years working with all these all-stars about how to develop empathy?
Well, again, it all comes back down to practicing, training, and rehearsing. You're not good at everything once you start, but you have to commit to doing it over and over and studying and reading and processing and asking for help. I had coaches and mentors. So you have to teach people to ask for the help that they need, to practice, train, and rehearse having the empathy that they will need to lead their team. I'm working with unbelievable pro athletes right now, some of the best I've ever seen, but they weren't leaders. So what we're working on, I'm going to teach a hockey player. Ain't nothing I can teach a hockey player. Except now it's time for you to be a leader of men.
The book is called Stay Sane in an Insane World, How to Control the Controllables and Thrive. Again, does not drop until this summer. But you are in the know because you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. You know the book is coming. You know you can pre-order it. And there you have it. Stay sane in an insane world, how to control the controllables and thrive. The author of that book has been our guest in this hour, Greg Harding. Greg, as I said earlier, it's been a sublime joy, sir. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. All the best to you, my friend.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Carry on.
Likewise, carry on. And we will carry on tomorrow, Lord willing, for another episode of Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580. Until then, time to make room now for the KBLA Midday Money Chain. Up next, the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson, followed by Ahead of the Crypto Curve with Najee Roberts. Old money, new money. Either way, we got you covered here on KBLA Talk 1580. Until tomorrow morning, Lord willing, thanks for listening. And as always, keep the faith.